second half of the NFL season is here, and those young QBs are putting on a show. But who's the best team? This is when we separate the pretenders from the contenders. And you can follow that story every Sunday with the NFL on CBS.
Welcome back to Fourth and Forever. Exciting to have this guest here. A kid, I know I said kid. God, like we're both kids still, Kirk. But back with Bob Johnson, training in Mission Viejo, working out, getting ready for the draft. That's when we met as young, impressionable college kids. But now in the middle of his awesome career as an NFL quarterback, former Michigan State Spartan and current Minnesota Viking, Kirk Cousins. Welcome to Fourth and Forever. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thrilled to be on. So much respect for you, Mark, and happy to do it. So looking forward to chatting today.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff for you. We won't take too much of your time, but I want to know a little bit about this golf tournament. You're in an off-season golf tournament. How'd you hit it? What'd you end up? Is it a memorable tournament or something you want to quickly put behind you?
Yeah, so I'm enjoying getting into golf over the last few years. I got two young boys, so I can only play so much, but got this opportunity to play down here in Orlando this past weekend. Diamond Resort sponsors a tournament down here at the Four Seasons near Disney. And they had 50 celebrities, 25 LPGA professional golfers, and they put us in different pairings over the last 4 days and had a lot of fun with it. I finished fourth to last, so there's a lot of room for improvement as a golfer.
Good.
But it was my first time really ever playing competitive golf. I had a good time with it, and now I got to get my swing dialed in a little bit.
Let's go. That's great. Let me ask, caddies, like the whole deal. Who was probably your favorite partner? Who did you enjoy watching? Because I've played in tournaments like that, probably not quite that caliber, but more like going out. And when you play with a legitimate professional golfer, it's probably the way they would feel if we were just out, throwing balls at targets and stuff. Because it's just natural. It's what you do. You're so comfortable in that element. But watching them hit the ball and strike it pure, the sound that it makes, the kind of insight they give you leading up to shots, what they're thinking about. Similar as a quarterback, what's the situation? What's the down and distance? Where am I at in the game? How many timeouts do we have? How much time's left? All that goes into it. What was your favorite part of playing, and who was your favorite player to pair with?
Yeah, so got to play with 4 different groups throughout the 4 days. I mean, we walked 72 holes. My brother caddied for me, so it was the real deal. We were on the Golf Channel. The Golf Channel wasn't cutting to me too often, but it was the real deal. So we had a lot of fun. Brian Urlacher was paired with me on Saturday.
Oh, great.
For a linebacker who's 250 pounds and finished his playing career, he said, as about a 12 handicap. He is a serious golfer. He shot a 70 on Saturday when I was playing with him. So that was a lot of fun. We were able to talk football. We were able to talk golf, talk life. And I think that may be the most fun part of golf for me is having 18 holes, about 4 hours to walk and get to know somebody a little better than you otherwise would. So that was a lot of fun.
That's cool. That's really fun. Okay, what about these games yesterday? I'm assuming you watched both of them, yeah?
I did, yes.
Okay, let's jump into the AFC first, and then we'll get into your conference. Gosh, the Chiefs' offense was just too much to handle, and it seems like they have these slow starts, right? They had the muffed punt, which really hurt them, puts them in a hole, and then they just seem to click. At a certain point, it's like things are gonna happen, and they have this like swagger to them, this aura around him that's just like, yeah, we'll get it figured out here pretty soon. I don't know how you stop these guys. What did you see when you watched them, and your thoughts on Mahomes? Knowing they got to throw it to Travis Kelce and the guy's got 7 catches at halftime. It's like, how do you stop these guys? What did you see in the game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think 60 minutes is just a lot of time. They can make mistakes early in the game, and they can easily overcome it. We saw last year in the divisional round against Houston, they're down 24-0, if I remember right, and it didn't even matter. I mean, it was more than enough time to close that gap and then win by a large margin. So you're never really safe. I'm sure even in the fourth quarter with a few minutes left, if you have a lead, you don't feel good. So it's why they're had the best record in the regular season, why they're hosting the AFC Championship game, and why they're going to their second Super Bowl in 2 seasons. Mahomes is an unbelievable quarterback. Andy Reid's production is, he's a Hall of Fame coach. And the combination of the two, along with the Travis Kelce's and Tyreek Hill's and on and on and on, they got a great organization and a great team. And, they showed it again on Sunday night.
No doubt. What about Josh Allen and his development? I thought the stage looked slightly big for him, maybe just a tick big. I thought there were, he lucked out with that interception being dropped on their first drive, trying to throw that little rail route or kind of like big box fade looking up the sideline. I thought he got away with a couple risky throws, and then, I think he threw one pick. But his development this year, I mean, he was like a dark horse MVP candidate after 4 weeks of the season. Lighting the league on fire. What do you think about him and their prospects? I mean, they obviously have one of your old receivers in Stephon Diggs. Talk about their connection, what you remember from Stephon Diggs, that whole situation. So let's go Josh Allen first. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, I think the Bills stock and Josh Allen stock is only trending up. Josh showed it this year, but I mean, he's an aggressive quarterback, and I think at times that may frustrate a fan base, but he's going to be right far more times than he's going to be wrong. And his arm talent is elite. He's tremendous off schedule. He showed it last night on a couple third downs where the initial play's over, and he's able to leave the pocket and go make an off-schedule play. Very difficult throw. He was tremendous running the football on Sunday night. And I think with Josh Allen, a quarterback holding the football, you always have a chance. So he's fun to watch too, which is another great trait of a quarterback. And I think he's only going to get better. He's still really young, really early in his career. I didn't start consistently in the NFL until my 4th year, and he's only played 3 years. So he's going to be entering his 4th year next year. So great player. They asked a lot of him on Sunday night.
No doubt. I agree.
They weren't going to run the ball. Weren't going to run the ball that much, and if you're going to put the ball up in the air that many times on the road against a good team, you're bound to make a few mistakes. But I love watching him play, and I think he's only going to get better.
Yeah, you're right. What about, I thought they did such a good job putting talent around him, whether it was John Brown, Beasley, Stephon Diggs. They've tried to build that thing the right way, in my opinion. Your thoughts on the environment he's in and the organization that he's in with Coach Dayball and what they got building there?
Yeah, I mean, I have so much respect for McDermott as a head coach and what he does defensively, and I think a large part of their success as a team this year goes back to what they have on defense and what they've built as a culture. I mean, Matt Barkley from the USC days, and I've spoken to Matt about the team, and he just raves about the culture they have, how close the guys are on the team, and I think that counts for something. And, like you said, they brought in some good free agents. They've kind of built a nice nucleus of core players, and you saw it in their march all the way to the AFC Championship game. So they're going to be a formidable team in the years ahead, because I don't think any of those pieces for them are going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like they're like checking boxes along the way, and they're taking the long road, and they're giving it time to marinate and develop and cook a little bit, right? Like, they got to beat New England. Then they beat New England twice. Like, that was a big deal. Getting into the playoffs, getting to a divisional game. Last year losing to Houston. Okay, we checked that box. We figured it out. We feel a little more comfortable in the playoffs. So I 100% agree. Let's get to this team in your division that went down yesterday, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Let's just go straight to the 4th down call. What did you think about the call? There've been some articles out there. Obviously, this is speculation, and we weren't in the headset, but we can give our experienced take on it. That 3rd down call late in the game when you're down 8, right? You got to know going into that call and explain, to the viewers and listeners. You got to know as a quarterback how I'm going to attack this 3rd down and goal. Knowing you got to know what's coming on 4th down, right? Are we kicking the field goal, or are we thinking about going for this? And if you could kind of explain from a quarterback's perspective why that changes your thought process. Because, in my opinion, immediately, if I know we're kicking the field goal, then yards might not matter. I might be a little more greedy to look for something in the end zone to get the ball in the end zone. Yeah. But if we don't have to score, I just got to get some yards. Let's just give us a better shot on 4th down if we're going to go for it. Talk about that play, and what'd you think?
Yeah, I know as a quarterback, you're usually wanting to know 2 downs to score or 1.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you just said, and many times in the open field when you get that, on 3rd and 2, if it's, hey, you got 2 downs to score, or 2 downs to get the first down, you're going to be more aggressive on 3rd down. And, even on 3rd and goal, maybe you get down to the 1 yard line and you know that on 4th down, now that opens up your playbook to do a few more things with the run game. So, yeah, it's one of those tough decisions that you're always going to be second-guessed about. And if you lose the championship game, you're going to be second-guessed about decisions. I'm sure the Bills are getting second-guessed about ways they played the game because they didn't win. And that always is going to happen. But, there were so many moments throughout the game. I love watching football if I'm not in it. One of the ways I like to really pay attention is game management, situational awareness, and kind of study those situations. And I noticed late in the game how many there were. Even in the 4-minute offense, we call it, where the Buccaneers are trying to run out the clock.
Yep.
When they have a productive first down play and it gets to 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2, and the Green Bay Packers voluntarily jump off sides to force them to get to another first down so that they have less downs to run the clock out. The Green Bay Packers basically get another timeout. Or even watching the Buccaneers when they return the kickoff after the field goal, the fact that Mickens took a quick knee and didn't run the clock down to the 2-minute warning. I mean, these are all little things that can come back to bite you. In that case, it didn't. But, there's so many situational moments that you study so that when you're in those moments, you know how to make the right move.
100%. And then when you see, from the sideline copy, it looks like when Aaron throws a ball back across the middle on that 3rd down, you're watching with a casual fan, and no offense to the fan, but they haven't necessarily lived in that moment. Everybody's like, oh, just run it. I don't know. From the sideline, it might look better. From the end zone, I mean, those D-ends can close now. I know Aaron's, he's a good athlete, but if he's pumping that ball and doesn't release it, I don't know if he makes it very far, right? Like, that's not as close. Explain how close that is for the average fan.
Well, there's no vertical grass to defend for the defense, so I didn't go back and study it to see, and try to measure would he or would he not have gotten in. But when a defender knows he doesn't have to cover a lot of vertical grass, he can close pretty quick and redirect. Now, Aaron's arguably the best in the world at attacking the line of scrimmage while keeping his eyes downfield and still giving you a threat to both run and throw. If there's anybody who has a feel for that in that moment, it's him. He made the decision instinctively to throw it. It was tight, didn't get it, but you go back and watch his tape through this season. He's made some unbelievable plays attacking the line of scrimmage, both choosing to stay as a runner and then also choosing at the last second to put it down the field as a thrower. And it was it's funny that we're talking about that because he's arguably the best in the world at that very moment, making that decision.
Speaking of best in the world, we're talking about Tom Brady too. But right before we get to him, I want to talk about the Packers head coach and Coach LaFleur, who you were with in D.C. Have you talked to him recently? I'm assuming not since the game, but what did you think of his ascendance, obviously, and where they're at, where they're trending, and maybe some moves they're thinking about making? I mean, you look at Twitter today, it's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay. You're like, wait, what? What just happened?
Yeah.
So you know how one loss goes in a big game, and now the sky's falling. So talk to me about LaFleur, the Packers in general. You guys face them twice a year, being in that division. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I haven't paid attention to social media too much today, but I know looking at Coach LaFleur, he's 26-6 over his 2 seasons as a head coach. He's been to 2 straight conference championship games, and his quarterback's about to be league MVP. So he's doing something right, and he's been a tough matchup for us in the NFC North. He's got a great team. He's a great coach, and I look forward to going against him for the next few years. We'll have some good battles up ahead. But he was great to me in Washington, loved playing for him, and I was so fortunate to get coached by him and Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, and pulling for him, except for the fact that he's in our division and he's the coach of our biggest rival. So there's always that dynamic too.
Yeah, and you guys have some serious battles this year. I know Dalvin Cook went off in the first matchup at Green Bay. Talk about that defense, Mike Pettin, their defensive coordinator. It just felt like in general, both of these championship games seem like, one team kind of jumps out to an early lead. The team that's behind, obviously chasing points, and there's some situations in there where you're thinking, do we go for it? Do we settle for 3? Both teams kind of had that conservative mentality, thinking they're going to get another shot. and the time just kind of ran out on them. What did you think about, how that game ended up? Did you see that coming? What did you think about Aaron Rodgers, his performance?
Yeah, I mean, you're never safe with a lead with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback. He's going to mount a comeback, and he did. He did bring him back in the second half. And if you're up on Tom Brady, much the same way, you expect him to bring him back. I've seen him do that in conference championship games. So,
yep.
We had some good battles against him this year. The Packers really, you could tell they really study the analytics and the situational awareness, because when we played them in November, they scored and were down 8 and decided not to kick the extra point but to go for 2. And we thought at the time, with how much time was left, it was an interesting choice. But then as we analyzed it further, we saw it made sense. And then again on Sunday, they decided to go for 2 and really had the play there. But Ndamukong Suh tipped the ball and it was incomplete. So there were so many scenarios that were interesting. I mean, we can talk simply about the pass interference call, in 4 minutes.
No doubt.
For probably 10 minutes. So it's NFL football, right? These games are all going to be close. There's going to be so many plays that have such a large impact on the final score. That's why our preparation, and you've lived it, I've lived it, you're just so on edge, because the next play, the next snap, a detail that you talk about during the week could make all the difference in winning and losing.
Are you throwing that flag right now? You're dressed up like a Foot Locker employee, a referee. Are you throwing the flag? Is it pass interference, or do they get tangled up? Because I err on the side of, let's let these dudes play, okay? But that's just me.
Here's what I was frustrated about. It's the playoffs. I thought in the playoffs there's extra camera angles, and I'm watching it, and we saw 2 below average angles of what really took place. I wanted to see an angle from behind where the back judge who threw the flag was standing. And there's got to be a camera angle from the end zone, from the goal post, something from the sky cam where I can see what the back judge saw. And I thought not only from his angle, but that probably would have been the best angle. When I initially saw from the TV camera that the receiver fell, I thought it must have been pass interference. Then you watch it more, and you didn't see a lot of contact. But I just was disappointed that the camera angles didn't give more angles, really, so I could kind of see what happened, because it just seemed like when he pulled the jersey or grabbed whatever he grabbed, the receiver was still going, and then suddenly let go, and then that's when the receiver fell. So it was hard to understand what all happened. But I can understand why he threw it, in the sense that the receiver did fall, and it looked like there was something there.
Yeah, no doubt. There was definitely smoke. So some of the other things that jumped out to me was the lost fumble to start the second half was huge. That put just put more distance between Green Bay and Tampa Bay. I thought the drop 2-point conversion, and then the pass interference, and then how about this? Kind of surprised me, but pitching the ball to a receiver to ice the game and get the first down. Obviously, he slid. I think it was Godwin. I would have just assumed you'd hand it to the back or toss it to the back. Yeah. I mean, the play worked great, but in a situation like that, if the guy runs out of bounds by accident or for some crazy reason decides to fumble the ball, I mean, just think about the headlines today. It would have been just a firing squad on Bruce Arians. And I mean, how it works, man. That's kind of the nature of the game. The next day, everybody's all over you. But anything else, like either those plays or anything else that you really thought, damn, that was the game right there?
Well, I just think it was a masterful job in 4 minutes, because when everybody in the stadium knows you got to run the ball and run the clock, and I just thought they did such a good job in the 4 minute of, getting yards. I think they may have even thrown the ball the very first play. Mm-hmm. But then when they did run it, they had productive runs. And then I like the creativity on third down to run it. I think that everybody knows you got to run it, keep the clock going. You're going to have to do something unique. To just try to run the ball right up the A gap is probably not going to get the first down. So I like the creativity, doing something different, but still staying in the realm of running the football. It's still safer than probably dropping back and throwing. So, you rep it all week, and then once you rep it and you install it, then you got to trust that guys are going to execute and do their part. And the Buccaneers did, and that was it.
Yeah. And these last 2 games now for Tom Brady, let's talk about what he's been able to accomplish. But if you were to just look at the stat line, if somebody showed me the stat line of these last 2 games for Tom Brady, right? Against the Saints, less than 200 yards throwing. Their top 4 or 5 targets have 7 combined catches. Like, then you see this game, it's like 3 touchdowns, but 3 picks. 100% of the time, if I had to bet the farm, just seeing the stat line and no score, no like box score or anything, no chance they win these games. So what the hell's going on in Tampa Bay? They win 3 games on the road in the playoffs, which is unheard of. I mean, these guys are firing on all cylinders. Is it Tom Brady? Is it just their mentality? Are they riding a wave of emotion and momentum? What's the story down there? Because those stat lines did not jump off the page like, damn, he's balling. He's winning, but he's not balling, right? Like there were throws in there, don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing the guy. It just doesn't look like a normal winning stat line.
No, you don't expect to throw 3 interceptions and win the NFC Championship game, but he did a lot of good things, and they have a tremendous pass rush. They got a lot of playmakers. They're well coached, and the combination of it all, including Tom Brady, is why they're headed to the Super Bowl. We played them in early December, mid-December. Very similar. They were productive on offense. They didn't go off, but they had a productive day. I don't believe they turned the ball over against us, and we felt their pass rush all game long, and they beat us. So. I think their pass rush is elite. I think they've got several guys who can get to the quarterback, and they've invested in that, and they're getting those results.
I think this is going to be huge for them, but they had, 7-8 sacks in 2 games against the Packers this year? That was huge to get the pass rush and get Aaron on the ground, because we talked about it earlier, and you said it. When he attacks the line of scrimmage as a runner and a thrower, that dude might be one of the most dangerous guys to ever play, right? Because he's nasty. Right. When plays are off schedule and he's attacking vertically in the pocket, it's on. Your defense is in trouble. I know the pass rush is going to be part of it for Tampa Bay. What do they have to do to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs, in your opinion?
Well, I think on offense, you got to be aggressive, because if you're kicking field goals, it's a matter of time before the Chiefs are scoring touchdowns, and they're going to outpace you. But I do think that pass rush is going to have to condense the pocket, and it's going to have to come from all sides, because if it's just one guy getting beat, Mahomes will still be able to find a way to get out or step up or make somebody miss. So if they can really collapse it from both sides and from in front, I think you got a chance. And who knows? I mean, I would have said, hey, you got to protect the football, but you turn the ball over and you still win. So it's interesting. And I know last year the 49ers were able to contain the Chiefs in the Super Bowl for much of the game. Yeah. And then suddenly at the end it was 2 touchdowns and that was it. So you got to play the full 60 minutes. And if you're doing something for the first 3 quarters, you're going to have to hold on for 15 more, because at some point the Chiefs tend to figure it out.
Mahomes and those guys almost play better from behind. Like they need to, in a boxing match, they got to lose the first couple rounds and take a couple licks, bloody up the eye, and then it's like, all right, here we go. I'm start landing all the combinations. But whatever that's about, it is impressive to watch. Something else, if Tom Brady is able to pull this off and win what would be 7 Super Bowls now, 7 out of 10. I mean, the guy's hitting 700 in Super Bowl. Like, what does that say about him? Your thoughts on him, obviously, as a player, as a competitor? Well, he's got to be the best of all time if he's not already, right? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, coming out the gates in his career, I think he won. He didn't play his first year, and then I think he won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. So that right there is ridiculous. But then he went a decade, without winning one, which for him to think for 10 years he didn't win one is incredible. But he was always seemed to be in the conference championship game, which says so much. And then, he's seemingly in my career since 2012, he's played in one. I mean, really going back to 2011, played in one. It seems like every other year, or more. And and every time he's won, it's been close. Every time he's lost, it's been close. I mean, any one of those games could have gone one direction or the other. I think the most impressive one I ever watched was the Atlanta game where he came back in the second half, the throws he made, and knowing that there was no room for error. I mean, the throws he hit, he had to hit every single one, and they did. It was an unbelievable performance by him. You know, I think that Super Bowl performance will always kind of stand out for me. But, you know, the fact that he's now doing it with a different team, the number of conference championship games he's played in, the number of Super Bowls he's appeared in, regardless of winning or losing. Right. I think those actual statistics are more impressive. When you've lived it, you know how difficult it is to get to a conference championship game, how difficult it would be to get to a Super Bowl. And he's done it so many times. Whether you win the final game or not, just to think about how many times he's been there is ridiculous.
I thought this was interesting. Obviously, the first team in NFL history to host a Super Bowl game, right? Advantage, disadvantage, do you like that, not like that? And then I want to talk about the Chiefs' travel schedule. They're not going in until the day before the game. So definitely different from, you know, the week leading up to the Super Bowl and all the activities and all the fun. It's obviously different times that we're living in. But what are your thoughts on the Buccaneers home game first and then the Chiefs' travel schedule? If you're Andy Reid, would you do that? Go for it.
So I didn't know about the Chiefs doing that. I guess it makes sense in these unique times we're in. I've heard many people say that Super Bowl week, the way to prepare is to start this coming week right now like a normal week. So when we get to next Sunday, which is typically the Pro Bowl game, you're ready to go. I mean, you've done your normal week of preparation. And then when you get past that Pro Bowl Sunday and you look towards a normal week for the Super Bowl, because you usually travel to the Super Bowl site and there's so much extra media, so many other events, you know that you can go enjoy those events and know that a lot of your work has already been done and the hay's in the barn, and then you can just spend that week fine-tuning what you've already practiced and gone over.
Right.
That tends to be the routine that everybody who gets to the Super Bowl takes on with those 2 weeks. Now, not leaving Kansas City until the day before the game, you know, it'll be interesting to see how they choose to schedule out their plan and if they treat this week more as a bye week or if they really go for 2 straight weeks. I'd be interested to see how they choose to do that. With Tampa being the home team, again, really unique opportunity for them. You know, I'd be interested to know if they're the home team in that stadium on Super Bowl week. I don't know how they do home and away for the Super Bowl, but the away locker room in Tampa is pretty snug. It's not one of the better away locker rooms, so it would be kind of funny if they were the away team and had to go use the away locker room, because that'd be a major change from their normal home locker room. So I don't know how the NFL does it, but
yeah, that's a good question. Now that you say that,
fun to see.
I don't know either. Who's going to be the home team? Who's going to be away? Because if you give it to, there's got to be some sort of like total points scored or playoff something. There's got to be something.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to look
maybe
that
the
up.
higher seeded team. Yeah.
Got to be, right?
But they may be the away team in their own stadium. And again, it might be an advantage if it was a normal year, but with COVID and the limited number of fans, it's hard to say how it will help them or not.
That is really interesting. Then, okay, let's talk about your Vikings this year. Come out hot, some young talent. Talk about you guys. You finished third in the NFC North. Talented young playmakers on the roster. Justin Jefferson, I want to talk about him. He's a graduate of the show, as we call him. But it was, you get off to this, I said hot start earlier, but it's more of a difficult start because of the way COVID, affected the offseason. Talk about how hard that was to not have those young guys in a traditional offseason environment once you draft them, and the chemistry and how difficult it was to establish. Because there were flashes during the season where you're like, wow, how are you going to stop these guys? When Dalvin Cook's balling, Rudolph's crushing it like normal, and then you add some pieces like Justin Jefferson. Give me your assessment of the season and where you think you guys are headed.
Yeah, I mean, Justin was a great draft pick for us. I guess what you lose out on is the preseason games and just the more time on task to build that initial rapport so that week 1 we were able to use him the way we were using him week 10, 12, 15. But it was really week 3 that we said, okay, you're going to be our guy at X every down. Let's go. And if you're too young for the moment, we're going to work through that because we want to get you out there and start getting you chances to make plays. And we never looked back after that.
Was there a conversation that like you had with him, with Zimmer, with somebody, Kubiak, somebody that was just like, hey, this is the time? Like, was it like to Justin or to you, or hey, you let him know, you relay the info? How did that work out?
Justin had played mostly the slot only at LSU his final year. And as a result, we expected to use him in the slot initially as a rookie simply because that's what he had done in the past. We thought that was how he was kind of wired to play, and also to not overload his plate in year one, especially with the reduced offseason as we talked about. So the plan was to kind of keep him in the slot. That's how we practiced him. And the first 2 weeks, week one, we did some good stuff on offense, moved the ball, didn't really feel a need to change anything up. Week two, we really struggled. We had a hard time moving the football, and Justin made some big plays for us in the game from the slot. And coming out of that game, we just felt like, we need to get him more touches. We're not in 11 personnel all game long, so let's, put him in there more when we have a fullback in the game and 2 tight ends. This will give him more chances. So moved him to X week 3, and he made plays right away for us, scored a big touchdown in that game, and never looked back. But I think that really was between week 2 and week 3 when we had struggled on offense, just felt like it was time, and it was clearly the right move. And he'll be playing X now, hopefully for a long time.
No doubt, he was special to watch. Favorite parts of the season, whether it was Dalvin, Rudolph, Jefferson. Mm-hmm. When you felt like, man, that's it, we got to bottle this moment or this stretch of games where you just felt like, dang, we're clicking, because it's there. And for people who watch and say, 7-9, third in the division, well, that's like so close. We're talking a field goal here, an injury there, one change of possession, one penalty that changes up some of these games, gives you a little momentum, and all of a sudden you're a 10-win team, right? Like, that's how close it is. Give me your, favorite part of the season where you guys felt you were clicking, and then what are we looking forward to with the Vikings next year?
Well, we started 1-5, and we lost some really close games to some good teams, so we knew we probably had a better team than our record. We went on our bye week in late October and came back from that bye week and won at Green Bay. And we were able to kind of claw our way back through November and early December to get back to 500. Yeah. And I think that was a stretch that really, showed the improvement we were making as a team, was that stretch in November and early December. And then, we didn't really close the door. We had a great chance at the end of December to win a stretch of games and kind of close the door and get to the playoffs, and we weren't able to do it. But, I think with the year Dalvin had, if not for missing the last game due to his dad passing away and having to miss that game, he likely goes over 2,000 all-purpose yards for the season. That's really special. Not many guys in the NFL are doing 2,000 yards from scrimmage in a season. And he really did it. The 100 yards that he had, he still missed 2 games. So very impressive. Justin, as a rookie, to do what he did was special. Adam Thielen had 14 touchdowns. So on offense, there were a lot of positives. And it goes back to our coaches and the game plans they put together, the way they coached us, the way our guys worked. We just weren't able to find those inches we needed to in some of those 9 losses that, like you said, if you turn 2 of those games the other way, you're in the playoffs, and,
no doubt.
And that's all you need is that chance to get in.
100%. Well, I like that perspective. I did think that was an impressive stretch, like you mentioned, to get back to 500. And then next year, now that you've been on the show, we're big fans. So we got to get you guys, we got to get a little playoff push in there, get you back in the playoffs. But switching gears a little bit to a couple of legendary quarterbacks that are retiring this year, it sounds like, with Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. Drew Brees, a fellow Big Ten guy like you, Purdue grad. I think they won a Rose Bowl when he was in college, then goes to San Diego, blows out his shoulder, reinvents himself, comes back with Sean Payton and what they were able to do over the last decade or more is pretty impressive. But what are your thoughts on Drew Brees first, your favorite moments, memories of watching him, any inspirational stuff that if you know him personally?
We played him on Christmas Day this year, and in warm-ups I saw on the monitor in the stadium that he had 79,000 and whatever yards. He needed only like 50 yards to get to 80,000. And so I thought, all right, today we're probably going to watch Drew Brees get 80,000 passing yards in the league. And sure enough, on Christmas Day, we watched him cross the 80,000 yard threshold. And that kind of summed it up for me. When you talk about just sustained, consistent excellence over, so many years. You don't just throw for 80,000 yards in the NFL. Unless you're doing something right and your habits are correct for a long, long time. So, he was a guy, I got to go to 2 Pro Bowls where he was there. So I got to spend a week with him. That was a thrill to get to talk to him, ask questions, learn from him, on the field, off the field, how he goes about his business. And I remember watching him at Purdue. Like you said, I grew up in the Midwest. Purdue games were on TV on Saturdays. And usually when you turn on Big Ten games, it was ground and pound, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But when Purdue played, they were throwing it all over the yard. And so it was a lot of fun to watch them. And when I was recruited to Michigan State, Mark D'Antonio would tell me that, he felt like there were some traits that were similar to Drew Brees, when I was coming in. And I kind of always then watched Drew and tried to sort of emulate his game and believe that if he did what he did in the Big Ten and the pros, then maybe I could do the same thing. And so he was always kind of a distant person to chase after and model my game after. And, we'll see what decision he makes here, but regardless, he's one of the best to ever do it. And he'll be in Canton, only a few years after, whenever he decides to hang it up.
Yeah. Another, a lot of interesting discussions on sports talk radio that I'm now turning into my dad, because we used to listen to sports talk radio all the time. And my 4-year-old kid's in the back, asking questions. Who's Phillip Rivers? Who's this? Who's that? Because he's got no clue. But I'm trying to educate him along the way a little bit. And it's so funny flipping or switching roles like that. But Phillip Rivers has been a hot topic as he's retiring and announced. But is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? And you hear, you've played against him plenty of times. I played against him a bunch. You hear people talking like, well, he has this many yards, he has this many touchdowns. But if, Matt Ryan and Matt Stafford and guys like that continue to play for the foreseeable future here, they're going to pass all those records. So by the time the 5 years is up for Phillip Rivers to get in, does he actually get in? I'm curious what you think as one of his peers.
Well, I think we or by say we, I mean out there in fandom, overvalue one Super Bowl, one world championship. Because if Phillip Rivers wins one Super Bowl, is he in the Hall of Fame?
No question.
And everyone say yes. So you say, okay, so you're telling me he's been to the AFC Championship game, played in it, I believe, on a torn ACL. So you're going to tell me if they just somehow win that game and the next game they somehow win, as we've learned, you can throw 3 interceptions in a game and win it. If that happens, he's suddenly a Hall of Famer, then I think he's a Hall of Famer now without that. I think there's kind of an overemphasis on needing that Super Bowl title to justify it. But when you do what he's done for that many years, maybe I'm just overemphasizing sustained excellence. But I think when you do it for that many years and do it at a high level like that and stay healthy and start for 200 plus games and go to multiple Pro Bowls, I think you're pretty deserving. And, he certainly had some years where they were 4-12 or 5-11, but he also had some years where they were 13-3 and 12-4, and those were pretty special years. So I do think he deserves to be in Canton.
No doubt. And then another coach, a coach who announced his retirement, who you've gotten close with, Gary Kubiak, after 25 years of coaching in the NFL. Your guys' relationship and how he's helped you evolve as a player, as a person, anything like that. I know his son Clint was there too, right?
That's right. Clint's our quarterback coach, and I was just so grateful that my path crossed with Gary's. I've been so fortunate to have great coaches going back to when I was drafted with Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur, and then to have Jay Gruden and Sean McVay, and then to come to Minnesota and be around Gary Kubiak and his entire staff. Rick Dennison is an offensive line coach, Clint as my quarterbacks coach. Very fortunate. And, it was a quick 1 year with Gary as the play caller. We did a lot of good things. Would have loved to have had more years with him, but, he was ready to pass it on to somebody else and go enjoy, his ranch in Texas and go enjoy retirement, spend more time with family and friends. As this business, especially the coaching profession, is so demanding of your time and your energy, and it's all consuming. And so he had given his all for a long, long time as a player and coach, and he was ready to go enjoy other things. So I'm wishing him well. He's going to enjoy retirement, but so grateful our paths crossed, and then I got to play for him for really 2 years, but one as a play caller.
I wanted to ask about the Super Bowl and then your Skittles commercials that I love so much after my deep dive on your Instagram, which I also love so much, and I couldn't believe I didn't follow you. I was like, damn, that's rude. So let's go Super Bowl prediction and why.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs because
repeat.
I think they're that good. I think they're well coached. I think they have a tremendous quarterback, and they've been there before. I at this point, who knows? But I think the Chiefs are going to win it. Good chance it's high scoring.
Yeah, I was just going to say, give me a score. What do you think? Like a 38 kind of points or 35, 28? What do we got?
Yeah, maybe 35 is a good number. Maybe low 30s. Many times in the Super Bowl, it's just a little bit harder to find those points. But maybe low 30s for the Chiefs and maybe mid 20s for the Bucs. Hopefully, it's a great game. It's a lot more fun when the game goes down to the final place.
Okay, let's talk about your podcast. It's called Under Center. When you talk about podcast names, how hard was it for you to come up with the name? Because immediately when I think of it, I think, well, what about when you're in shotgun, like a total jerk and cynical prick? But then I thought about Fourth and Forever. I'm like, what about the other 3 downs? So I get it.
What happened?
It's not exactly. We had a crappy drive there. What went into the name? What do you like about it? What's been difficult about it? And who's your favorite guest? And when am I getting a damn invite?
Well, you're going to be first on the list next year. But VEN, Vikings Entertainment Network, is kind of the in-house media component of the Vikings. They do a great job. And they came up with the name. They really run the podcast. I just get to show up and talk football. So we have fun with it. I did a radio show in Washington when I was playing there. I really enjoyed the chance on Monday to kind of debrief the game after you've had a chance to watch the film, catch your breath. Really the only chance you get to talk about the game is right after the game. You haven't seen the film. It's hard to give much of an answer. So Monday was a great opportunity to call in and talk through it. So when I moved to Minnesota, wanted to do that, and it wasn't quite as easy to find that opportunity. So we thought, why not just create a similar structure, through the vehicle of a podcast, and basically give yourself a chance to kind of debrief the game and talk about the next week matchup and kind of have a direct line talking to the fans. So, we've done it the last 2 seasons. It's been fun, and I brought on a lot of guests, which we'll have you as a guest next season. But it's been great to have my teammates on as guests and just get to know them in a different setting and ask questions, kind of like what you're doing right here. I've really enjoyed that part of it.
And is that going to be your move in, how much longer do you want to play, by the way? 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years? What's your plan there? And then after, are you jumping into media? Are you going to break down games? Are you going to coach your kids? Are you going to, keep pursuing your foundation? Like what's the move for you when it's all said and done?
It's a great question. I ask that of myself a lot. I'm year to year, really, honestly. Every season it takes so much out of me that I really reevaluate each year and say, do I want to do this again? And if so, under what circumstances? But I absolutely want to play again next year, and we'll go through that year and see where it leads us, and then what it brings from there. But I would like to play a while longer, and I'd like to. Hopefully stack up a lot of years, and you got to stay healthy. You got to play well. You got to earn the right to do that. But, that's what I'd like to do. But after switching teams once, I've learned that that's tough, to constantly start over, learn a new offense, learn new teammates, new people in the building. Hitting that reset button over and over can really make it difficult to keep playing. So the more you can have consistency, I think the more possible it is to last a long time and play a long time, and so we'll see where it leads.
And your faith and your family obviously are huge factors in that. Talk about your family, their support, and your 2 boys. I got a 4-year-old boy myself, and how important that is as they inspire you and how you're their dad. And that's really, you're a husband first and your dad second-ish. Right. Those kind of go back and forth between number one, I feel like. But explain your relationship with them, how much they support you, and your inspiration from them, and your faith in God.
Yeah, it was a life goal of mine to marry up, if you will, and marry someone who was better than me in so many ways. In marrying my wife Julie, that was a life goal that I was able to achieve. Check that box. So very grateful to have Julie as my wife. She's just the greatest support. She puts zero pressure on me, to play longer or to play well. She's just there, and she loves it. She loves being a part of the NFL journey. She's up for the adventure. She loves cheering us on, and she does a great job not riding the roller coaster that can so often happen playing pro football. So it's been a great partnership, me and her, and we've got 2 boys now, Cooper and Turner. Cooper's 3 years old, Turner's almost 2. They're a handful, especially when they're together, but we're having fun with it, and it'll be so fun to see kind of who they develop into and what they want to do. My younger one, Turner's already throwing with his left hand.
Oh boy!
He walks around the house patting the ball like this and then chucks it wherever he wants. So we'll see where he ends up, but I'm going to have fun as a dad, and certainly when I'm done playing, would love to be able to coach them a little bit in whatever they get involved in.
That's great. And then briefly on your Skittles commercial, you going through the inflatable guys at the car dealership, it looked like, talking about dropping a mixtape in the back seat of the car. What's going on with those? Because every quarterback in every local market always has some funny commercials, and I love going through these and breaking them down with the actual players. How did you feel on that? Because a couple of those inflatable guys, the guys doing the thing, and they look like they might have tackled you, look like they might have sacked you once or twice in that little gauntlet you put yourself through.
When you agree to do these pitches, you got to know you're walking into some stuff sometimes that's going to take you out of your comfort zone. But you got to have a sense of humor. You got to be willing to laugh at yourself. And
no doubt.
Sometimes you strike out, sometimes you hit a home run, and sometimes you're in between. And like you said, we've all kind of done it. I've seen some old school local endorsements of some older quarterbacks from back in the day that make you just laugh and shake your head. And it's fun. It is. And hey, if you're giving you that opportunity, it's a good one, and usually you wanna take advantage of it.
Absolutely. You get paid, you do something fun, stretch yourself a little bit, and then hopefully free Skittles for the kids, which is just what they need, some sugar to wind them up.
Exactly.
Well, Kirk, dude, this has been so fun catching up with you. Let's stay in touch. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Good luck on the golf game. Impressive answer on Julie. We're going to cut that for you specially and send it right to you. Just in case you're out on the range practicing a little too long and she gets mad at you.
Exactly.
You have something to throw right back at her.
That'll buy me some time. I like that.
Exactly. Great to talk to you, buddy. Stay healthy. Best of luck next year, and keep doing your thing, man. We're proud of you.
Hey, thanks for having me on. So much respect for you as a player and as a person, and happy to do it anytime.
Appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe, at Mark_Sanchez, at Fourth and Forever, Instagram, Twitter, all that. You know where to go. Thanks again for having us, and we'll see you soon.